Welcome to Witching Hour Tarot. I hope everyone's doing great after the long weekend here in the US. We did have MLK Day. I love MLK Day. Always grateful for a long weekend as well. Hope you enjoyed my new fingerless gloves as well. I officially have five whole pairs of fingerless gloves. I thought these were really beautiful. They're from Poland. There's velvet here. Again, like I've been doing tarot for some time, but when I first started, I wanted to make it about my alter ego, and was thinking about getting a wig, and ultimately I decided I don't want to go on camera, probably ever. So sorry to disappoint. You're only gonna get to know my hands very well, and not necessarily my face, and maybe even my voice. All my two followers out there. But again, I feel really lucky because this is more of a hobby for me. I'm not incentivized by money. It's more so my psychic reading. I have read a lot for my friends in the past. It's something that I totally keep on the down low. Like most people don't know I read tarot. Again, I don't experiment with any other type of divination. I think it's really bad karma. Actually, I want to start with the Rider-Waite. My Tarot of Sexual Magic, sorry. I really like it from a historical standpoint. The Italians started, first records of tarot, or I think even in the 1500s with Italian bureaucrats. So people in royalty and the Medici and those kinds of folks were practicing tarot. And I believe the first deck, the Rider-Waite deck, was Rider-Waite. Sorry, I always mispronounce it. Was in 1911 or 1912 it was published. Shout out to Patricia Smith, who's actually the illustrator for the Rider-Waite deck. I love how, ancient spirituality obviously is, and, some forms of divination. And I'm kind of a history buff. Historical fiction is one of my favorite genres to read. Maybe, I don't know. So tarot excites me with all the symbology and stuff and historical relevance. There's Bible references, ancient Egyptian references, there's Middle Eastern references, there's, Old Testament references. It's just very, there's a lot going on. All right, let's see. Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, so this is the Pre-Empress card. Nine of Pentacles is, you got everything going on for you. You got, all your bills paid, 3 months plus worth of expenses in the bank, maybe an investment account, retirement accounts, everything that you could possibly need, eating well, sleeping well, drinking well, enjoying yourself. Pentacles are earth energy, so Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. And this particular image is really kind of interesting with this man cutting off a lock of her hair. So there might be a little bit of obsession too with that, lustful obsession. I really love the imagery in this deck. I think it's so beautiful. So great to see this energy out on the table. Nine of Pentacles, it's a very positive energy. So someone's definitely got it going on here, have everything they can need and more. And they're kind of just missing that one last pentacle to bring them to 10. Six of Swords. Yeah, so Six of Swords is moving on. It's moving on from warfare. It's moving on, starting a life anew somewhere, leaving, the hurtful things in the past. It's air energy, so Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. In this particular image, you can see that, they're fornicating in the grass, of some sort. But it's a very traditional kind of position that they're in, more like a lovemaking. It's kind of like this person is maybe this is like his lady in waiting, and this person, like, say for example, this person might be like a guard on duty, and then like this is the pre-empress, like this is someone who has everything going on, you know, and she's higher status than he is, and like they have to meet in private, to, you know, enjoy themselves or their affair, you know, behind closed doors, so no one can know about it. But you can see here his sword's put down, so there's definitely vulnerability here as well. But also, like, it could be the opposite as that of that, like, you know, finally just kind of leaving everything in the past, and like realizing where your future is, and like, you know, maybe they when I see this, like this riverbank here, it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, maybe they've been wandering through the woods or something like that, and like they finally find each other, and like have this happy moment. With the Nine of Pentacles here, it's, yeah, and you see his hand. His hand is like, you know, stroking her hair here. You know, it's like entwined with her hair. Someone's definitely ready to move on from something, or trying to move on from something. Six of Wands. Yeah, you know, so it's really great to see this come out and sit next to the Six of Swords. This is all about victory, and is sort of like, you know, winning the game, winning the match, you know, winning the war, winning the battle. It's a victorious card. Victory over yourself, over your demons, over your obstacles. You can kind of see, like, this woman here is coyly kind of positioning herself, and he's starting to, like, you know, feel her up more or less. You know, and indicate, like, him having a hat on, indicating that he might be more of like this type of person, where he is more of like a guardsman. You know, he's working in the fields, and you know, she's like a seductress of some sort. You know, but more or less having victory over what's going on. Victory over Nine of Pentacles. You know, so someone's definitely trying to move on, and like there's victorious, and there's a victorious start to their future, you know. And there's also an innocence too. Like, you see the bunny here, the bunny and the dove, like observing what's going on. Like, there's definitely a purity and an innocence as well. Yeah, Two of Swords. So the Two of Swords is kind of like being the master of your own devices, but also like using your resources and your devices to make the best possible decision for yourself. You know, there's definitely mastery here. Someone has a choice, maybe. Knife of Swords. Yeah, so this is a Page of Swords. The Page of Swords are typically like, they're a scout. You know, it's someone who scouts out the land before they move into battle. You know, they look at everything before they actually, you know, they're an observer. Sword energy is very logical. We do have a lot of sword energy on the table. So again, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, you know, very practical kind of stuff. But like here you can see this gentleman, I think this is actually, this female is a knight, is the Page of Swords here, you know, holding the sword, or it doesn't really matter, but you know, he's kind of examining her, just checking things out, and trying to make sense of it. There's definitely a sense of objectification here. So maybe someone needs to go a little bit deeper, you know, get out of this like lustful, try not to be in this like lustful kind of obsessive energy, and understand that the person that they could be dealing with, like, you know, has just as many thoughts and feelings, if not more than they do. You know, people kind of like with beautiful women as well, like, you know, people tend to really like objectify them, and it really breaks me when I see women objectify themselves, because society teaches them that, you know, society teaches them that, you know, their power, their social power is in their sexuality. And to a degree that's true. You know, a tangent of this, like, it reminds me also of, like, you know, the age-old kind of stereotype, like men reach their peak when they're in their 40s, and women reach their peak in their 20s, you know, in their 18, 20, 21, 22. Like, I don't know about you, but like a 22-year-old woman does not, in modern day society, like, does not have a lot of power. Like, she doesn't have power in the workplace. She doesn't have power, you know, people don't take her seriously because she's, you know, seemingly immature, or she hasn't had these life experiences. Like, you know, like, I do think that that kind of, you know, ideology or narrative way of thinking of the world, that men peak in, like, you know, when they're 40 and women peak when they're 20, is like totally inapplicable to like the world going on now. You know, and like, people don't really respect like the 20-year-old girl who like doesn't have an EQ yet, or like doesn't know how to, like, you know, properly see these situations, because, like, you know, it was 20 compared to, like, you know, a 30 or even like 35-year-old woman. Like, that's a very, you know, those 35-year-old woman has way more experience and can navigate and, you know, tap into her feminine intellect way more than a young woman can. So just kind of also like questioning, this card is also about, like, you know, questioning your choices and questioning how you even might think about things. You know, like, obviously you might have had to move on for something. Yeah, like, you're like, when you have the Six of Swords on the table, it means that there's been hardship in the past, like, whether that's something under your control or not, but there's victory here in the sense that you can very much control your thought process, and your mastery is at your disposal, you know. And you're kind of just like, you've kind of just been like scouting things out in the world, you know, figuring out what you like and you don't like, and realizing what you do like, and you know, like, who wouldn't like this? But you know, it's obviously open to interpretation. But there's definitely, like, you know, a seductress here as well. Temperance, yeah. So kind of like, you know, holding your horses and, you know, really kind of observing, taking time, finding the balance in things, finding what's right for you, you know, like, what's right for you. Like, forget the social narrative. You know, that's easy to do. Like, if you really want to get married and have kids, like, that's an easy thing for most people to do, but life isn't that simple. You know, people get sick, people have accidents, people, you know, things happen. You know, you have breakups, or you have people pass away. Like, you know, life isn't this straight line, and it's really unfair to us that we apply these really, like, generalistic social narratives. Like, if I'm not married with kids in a house by the time I'm 30, I'm a failure. Like, you know, it's a really kind of the wrong way to even think about life and think about, you know, how you want to live your life. You're setting yourself up for failure by, you know, trying to follow the social narrative. Like most of the time, like great things aren't accomplished by just doing what everyone else does. Like the people that really change history, they are they're whistleblowers. You know, they're people who maybe don't have other people's respect, who aren't really listened to, who, you know, they're these really, you know, they go against the status quo. So this is kind of like, I see someone collecting information here, you know, collecting all the information they could possibly can before they move forward and figure out what the best move to victory. You know, Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, there's Ace of Pentacles. Like so this is like a golden ticket. You know, maybe you're looking to go see Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory. With the Six of Swords, like, you know, your golden ticket, you know, on the boat to get out of town, get out of here, and go on and move your life, like. You know, there's not always opportunities presented to you, and sometimes we're so blinded by, you know, our past experiences that we don't even recognize it as an opportunity, you know. But maybe also it doesn't suit you with the Knight of Swords here. Like, it maybe an opportunity has presented itself to you and it doesn't suit you. You know, it's not something that aligns with who you are. And it doesn't mean that the opportunity is any less valuable. It doesn't fit you, you know? And like, just on a tangent of that, like there's also a narrative of like, I'm better than this person. Like when you're dating people, like I'm better than this person, you know, I'm better, blah, blah, blah. And just like, it's not about being better or worse, you know, or, you know, putting people up in competition to like get you. It's like, who suits you best? You know, who suits you best? Who can meet your needs? Who can, you know, have the type of relationship that you want? You know, and you're always allowed to change your mind. You're always allowed to make a different choice. You're not accountable for how other people feel when you're not expressing your authentic self. You know, tons of people stay in, you know, toxic marriages or toxic relationships, or, you know, stay in toxic environments because they're trying to fulfill, again, the social narrative. You know, they're trying to meet the status quo, the expectation, but meanwhile they're miserable. Their health is declining. You know, they have no friends. There's no one they can truly talk to. So just something, you know, I bring it up because you know, when life hands you an opportunity and you say no for whatever reason, it just like, you don't take it to heart that like you failed or whatever it could be. The Empress. Yeah, so this is every queen of the deck, someone who's mastered the passion and the communication of the Queen of Wands, the boundaries and logic of the Queen of Swords, the stability and abundance of the Queen of Pentacles, and then the emotional expression and flexibility of the Queen of Cups. So this is every single queen in the deck. There's a very strong feminine energy here. With the Six of Wands, it definitely does indicate that, you know, there's victory with this Empress. We've been seeing a lot of masculine energy in my readings. Like, we haven't really been seeing any, you know, feminine, devoutly feminine cards show up. But with the Nine of Pentacles and Temperance and the Empress and, you know, even this feminine depiction of the Knight of Swords, there's a very strong feminine on the table. You know, the Empress has everything going on for her, and like also it signifies pregnancy. You know, so Six of Wands and the Empress, it could definitely signify a healthy pregnancy. And be patient too. You know, people think it's so easy to make a baby, and like, you know, if the husband and wife are good fit and they're no, you know, or whomever, if the male female are good fit and they have no, you know, health issues or other biological issues, it's still only a 20% chance in a monthly cycle for a female to get pregnant. You know, like it's not a high likelihood, and people act like it's so easy, and it's, you know, you're not just like, it's not just a making love and making babies. It's not just like a one and done thing. Granted, like you do hear those crazy stories of like people, you know, having one night stands and getting pregnant, but you know, it's like you're meant to pair bond with the person that you make babies with. You know, there's a 20% chance of getting pregnant out of 1 monthly cycle for a reason biologically. You know. Knight of Swords. Yeah, so the Knight of Swords, again, very similar to the Page of Swords. This is a scout, but then he's kind of upgraded to the point where he can storm ahead and more or less like lead the troops. You know, he is again, the air energy, so Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, like very decisive, very you know, direct and straightforward. So someone here, you're probably making a very direct, clear-cut decision, you know, with the Two of Swords on how to move forward, and what they want from their life. Three of Cups. Yeah, so this is celebratory energy. Really nice to see that here. So definitely, we saw it in our last reading too, definitely room for celebration, which is really nice. A lot of people see this as like third party energy, but I think that's a totally inaccurate reading. If you look at any tarot description, like Three of Cups is celebratory. It's toasting. It's, you know, hanging out with your friends. It's enjoying yourself. It's, you know, kind of just like, you know, letting loose, kicking back, you know, shooting the shit, just like having a great time. You know, so it's great to see that here as well. Be patient, you know, like that's the thing. It's like we expect things to come so quickly and they really don't. You know, people's feelings also change all of the time. You know, like things are not stagnant. And emotions especially, they're water energy. It's not a stagnant thing, you know. So like even if you've been really angry before, you know, hate and love are the same side or the opposite sides of the same coin. You know, even if you get really angry with someone, oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, be like, your emotions will change over time. Yeah, so I'm sorry. If you have an issue and like you're really angry about something for, you know, some time, like that energy will eventually move out. You know, everything's subject to change, and you know, people get so wrapped up in like politics and, you know, the world affairs and everything that's going on in the world, and like, you know, everyone in power, everyone's gonna eventually die. You know, like everyone goes in the ground like anyone else. You know, unfortunately, we don't have the resources to know exactly what happens, you know, after someone does pass away, but things are subject to change all of the time, you know. But be patient. You can't force something to change. Like, you know, if you see things one way and someone sees it the complete opposite way, or doesn't have, the capacity to even understand your point of view. Like, and you're saying, you're talking to them until you're blue in the face. Like, it's really not even worth your energy or their energy, because sometimes people need to go through the hardship of life. They need to pass through, the hardship of life and move on from things on their own. People have to learn on their own. You can't force anyone to learn something that they're, not obligated to see, number one. And number two, like, that they don't even have the capacity to see. They need to go through more life experience. They need to have a different type of situation. They need to, like, I think it happens a lot in relationships. Like, you want someone to see things your way. You want someone to understand your perspective. And, the most successful relationships, I think, are when people are very flexible with one another, and people have the capacity to be flexible with one another. Flexible, tolerable people with temperance usually have the best relationships, because they're not so adamant about, my way or the highway. When you have that kind of my way or the highway, and you're, talking to someone until you're blue in the face to make them see your perspective, to understand your perspective, and they just can't in the state that they're currently in for whatever reason, like, they have to learn on their own. Ace of Wands. Yeah, so that's this is a message. A lot of people see this as the phallic here. This is ultimate communication, taking action, putting things into the physical. So here with the Nine of Pentacles and Temperance, like, maybe someone's been waiting on the sidelines for a long time, obsessing, over the Empress, over the Queen of Pentacles, over the, Nine of Pentacles, over, their dream come true, over their golden ticket and everything that they could ever want, or obsessing and ready to finally take action. But they had to learn things before they could even do this. Like, if you don't have the communication skills or the self-awareness or, the tolerance or the patience or the mental health or whatever to, like, be in a successful relationship, then, like, you're probably, like, you're better off being alone. And, like, why would you, if you really love someone, like, why would you want to do that to them? Put them let them bear the brunt of your burdens. Again, like, just following this, like, kind of in contrast to what I said, to following the social narrative. Like, people get in relationships all the time when they don't, and they're just kind of, like, following the steps, like, dating for 6 months and then moving in together. And then once they move in together, they get engaged at a year and a half, and then they're engaged for a year. And then, they buy a house, and then after they buy a house, they have kids. And, like, then they send their kids to private school or public school, when they're 5 or 4 years old, and like, just following, again, like, what society tells you to do. And trying to bring my thought process all back around. And then, a lot of people wake up in, like, in midlife crises, and, like, there's this really great quote, like, if you just do what your mom, what your priest, what your friends, what your sister, what your wife, what your grandparents tell you to do, and you're still miserable, then that's your own fault. Like, take authority over your life. Don't live for the sake of other people. And that's kind of a realization that I've come to on my own. I think it's a little more difficult for feminines to break free of the social narrative than men, because our self-worth is based a lot on relationships, and whether or not we have a ring on our finger or whatever it might be. So with that, I keep losing my train of thought. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so like I was kind of struggling with that. Like, I've been thinking about getting a dog for a long time, years, and I wanted to make sure I could take care of the animal. And the opportunity finally presented itself to me where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And as I'm taking care of the animal, like it did piss off some of the people that I worked with because I was bringing the animal into my corporate office. I'm not saying that it was a good idea or a bad idea, but I'm not going to have this, beautiful creature and not take care of it, to the best of my abilities. But with that, like that was kind of doing that for myself. Like also, like I wanted to have the animal, I like having the animal around. I like taking care of her. I think it's very good for my mental health. But I felt like I was like living for other people prior to that. Living for my boss, living for my mom. Always listening to what other people had to say. About my choices, and like meanwhile, like these same people could never be me. They can never do what I do. And like, the thing is, like, I also like I make it look so easy, and so there's it's because because I've kind of had that people pleasing thought process, but I'm also very successful and accomplished and all of that. Like, people constantly underestimate me, and I made a decision that was for my best, my best interest. It wasn't in the interest of anyone else, and I feel like just doing that for myself was incredibly significant. And I think a lot of people, can reflect or relate to what I just said. Finally just like standing up for yourself and be like, no, this is what I'm going to do. This is in my best interest. No, I'm not going to do that. 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 Nope, nope, nope. You got to learn to say no. No, absolutely not. And but not in a way where like you're festering. Not in a way where you're angry, where you're just like, you know what? This really isn't good for me, and I'm going to do what's good for me. So, animals could be relevant to someone here in like connection with animals. Nine of Wands. Yeah, so there's burdens too. So maybe someone had to really like, that's my simple example of getting a pet. It might not be comparable to what other people go through, some things are really hard to move on from, abuse, trauma, trying to make sense of what happened is very hard to move on from, and like dragging your feet along the way, like, but also like having a pity party for yourself is not going to be to anyone's benefit. Kind of being stuck in that self-pity, like, oh, my life is so, this person did this to me, this person did this to me, I'm just stuck, like, no one's been there for me, like, it's a victim mentality that's very hard to get out of and to transcend, to overcome. But with the Ace of Pentacles here, like, you do have the opportunity is there, and it's whether or not you're going to actually seize the opportunity, if you think it's a good one for you, or wait for the next one. But that's the chance or risk that you take. Princess of Pentacles. Yeah, so this is, I believe, the Page of Pentacles. So this is kind of like finding your ground, stability. It reminds me a lot of one of my family friends who would, we were very young, and then we were on the shoreline, and he starts to, he sees these little bubbles pop up on, on the coast, and he, dips his hand or like sticks his hand, quickly, and he pulls out this clam. And he's like, "Oh, you'll never starve with me." I think he liked me a little bit. So he's trying to impress me with his being able to catch a clam and, buried in the sand with his bare hands. But, very much like being able to rely on yourself, and, if things were to go to shit, you're able to take care of yourself anyway. It's kind of funny, like people think that they can make a huge difference, or like being mean to you, or being mean to you is going to have an effect on like your physicality or your life or your stability, and like it only does if you let it. But like with that, like some people can be satisfied with the absolute minimum. Like I could be happy living in a van and traveling the country in my van, and like finding other ways to make means to make ends meet, and kind of just utilizing every single resource that I have. So like that's kind of like my solid foundation, and I think that probably a lot of people feel the same way. If you do, give me a thumbs up. But what I'm trying to say is that we have a lot of options for success, and like it might not fulfill the social narrative, but you can still have a meaningful, fulfilling life even if you don't follow that narrative. Like if I chose to totally detach from the life that I live currently, and go get an RV and totally sell all my assets, get rid of everything that I have, get rid of my jewelry, all of that, and just kind of live live a very simple life. Like that idea, that concept keeps me very secure, because you don't need to have these aggrandized, special kind of, you don't need to follow those aggrandized narratives to like be happy, so someone definitely kind of realizes that who they are is what makes them victorious. It's not what they have, it's not their relationships, it's not their education or their beauty or their communication style or their emotions. It's not that, it's who they are. It's not just like your resume that makes you secure in yourself, actually being secure. It's knowing that you can handle anything that life throws at you, regardless of the situation or what you're dealing with or anything. So, Two of Swords and Knight of Swords. Let's see a clarifier here. Ace of Swords. Yeah, ain't that the truth? And like that's what secure people like don't need to like be cruel or like one up on people or bully people or put people down. Like happy, successful, like down to earth, flexible people don't need to run around stomping their feet or asserting really harsh boundaries, or or asserting boundaries in a harsh way, more so, in order to feel good about themselves. Like secure people, at the end of the day, they know it's who they are that makes all the difference, and how do we come up with the self-concept of that? Well, you have to break free of the social narratives. You have to break free of what your mom tells you to do, your dad tells you to do, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend tells you to do, your sister, your priest, your teacher. You have to break free of what everyone is advising you to, and move forward in a way where you find your golden opportunity. You manifest. With this is also manifestation, Ace of Wands. You manifest your golden opportunity, You know, maybe someone thinks that it's a love opportunity, maybe it's a job, maybe it's, you know, it could be a lot of things. You know, a lifestyle. And, you know, the devil. Yeah. So the devil, it's addiction issues, obsession. It totally changes the tune here. It's Capricorn energy. It's really easy, you know, on that topic of like, you know, secure people, don't bully, they're not mean, like whatever. It's really easy to be mean to people. It's really easy to treat people poorly. What's difficult is doing the right thing. You know, what's right or wrong is up for interpretation. But there's obsession here, there's addiction issues here. But someone's kind of making it look like the perfect scenario. But then, even if someone's making it look like the perfect scenario and something to celebrate, someone's privy to what's going on here. You know, someone's already scouted out the situation. They're privy to what's going on. You know, especially with the Knight of Swords as well. Yeah, and so like with addiction issues is relevant for sure. You know, when people have addiction issues, it's very difficult to overcome. And unfortunately, again, the social narrative is just kind of like, you know, poo poo on those people, hold those people accountable, do whatever. You know, I think um, I'm really lucky because um, I don't struggle from those types of issues. But when you do, and you have like an addictive personality, there's a lot of other issues that you meet in life, you know, because your addiction becomes priority number one. You know, your next fix becomes priority number one, whether that's, you know, drugs or alcohol or sex or, you know, it could be anything. Toxic lifestyles, like that's the thing, is like when you live a toxic lifestyle and it's all kind of hidden behind closed doors, you give up everything else for it. You prioritize your addictions over your relationships, over yourself. It runs your life, you know, and you kind of just become a zombie to it, unfortunately. And I can understand that it's really, someone might need to go to rehab here, and that's what they've been struggling with. You know, trying to find patience with themselves, passing up on opportunities because they're struggling with these issues. Suffering alone, maybe. Yeah. I almost want to get more clarifiers. There's spiritual awareness here, for sure. You know. But kind of going back to what I said, like, if you're dealing with someone with addiction issues or you have addiction issues, and then, you know, you want them to get help or you want to feel better, and like, you know, people are telling you until they're blue in the face, or you're telling them until you're blue in the face, and like they don't do anything to help themselves, you know, like, and they're just continuously carrying the burden. Uh, it's you can't, there's a point where you can't do anything for them. I actually have this friend that I used to work with who is no longer with us, but he, had severe addiction issues, and everyone thought that, right? He might have thought that people were ignorant to it, but it was very obvious, and he actually passed away from an overdose, and had gone to rehab and everything like that. But we were at a function, we were at a party together, and we were being served by a table, and I just remember him just getting so plastered, like so absolutely drunk. Like I've never seen someone that drunk at a function so quickly, and the waitress kept giving him drinks. And I had said to her, I'm like, what are we supposed to do for him? Like, obviously he has an issue. And she looks at me and she's like, we can pray for him. And unfortunately, when people are suffering from these very serious, obsessive addiction issues where, they just can't wait to get their next fix, you can't do anything for them, and it leaves you totally helpless. Regardless of all of that, there's still victory here. Love, light, and blessings to all you. Hope you have a great rest of your night.